I'm very happy to be with you today and give this short talk. Indeed, this has been going for some time, and today we are celebrating World Migratory Bird Day. This is happening twice a year now, once in May and once in October, celebrating the epic journey of birds on their journeys to their wintering grounds and back to their nesting grounds. And indeed, our region is falling in the heart of this, and we're trying to make this as an informal. Indeed, this is the start of a kind of an informal discussion that is starting to take place with UNDP and with partners to look ahead at this project as we go forward. This has been okay. So basically, this is the official project title. So this project is a mainstreaming project. So the main aim of it is to really mainstream bird-friendly practices within the systems of certain sectors, and along a specific flyway that we now call the Rift Valley Red Sea Flyway in our region. This is a two-tranche project that have started back in under JEF 3, and I think this is the only surviving project since the JEF 3 cycle at the moment, noting that we are now having projects under JEF 7 cycle. So basically, this is, from that perspective, an old project. We started working on that project back in PDF AB, that is 2006 to 2007 at the time. We started, we have, since the very beginning, UNDP Jordan has been the UNDP country office in Jordan has been acting on behalf of all the countries of the project. BirdLife is the implementing partner, if you like, that is implementing the project through the network of its partners. And as you may know, BirdLife is an international NGO that is a partnership for birds and nature and people that is available through NGOs in more than 120 countries in the world, and represented with an head office that is in Cambridge, UK, and regional offices in 7 areas. One of the regional offices is for the Middle East, and that is based in Amman, Jordan. That is where the project is nested, and that serves the countries of the region. At the partners level, we used to work with, in tranche 1 and tranche 2. In tranche 1, we used to work with 11 countries, and we had to reduce this number in tranche 2 to be 7 countries due to eligibility issues with the countries. Countries that we dropped in tranche 1, unfortunately, were Yemen, Syria, Palestine, and Saudi Arabia. The latter was for the financial JEF eligibility reason, while the 3 other countries, there has been a discussion at the end of tranche 1 that despite some of the good achievements that took place by the project in those countries at hard years of the Arab Spring at the time, and where some important deliverables were made, yet JEF thought that probably to have more settled and more focused impact of the project, let's focus on the other countries where we are still collaborating. Those include Egypt, Jordan, Ethiopia, Djibouti, Sudan, and Eritrea. So the flyways is the center of our project, and basically there are in general world 8 flyways that really witness this kind of epic phenomenon. One of them is what we call now the Afro-Eurasian Flyway. and it is really in three sections in the Med, and we are focusing basically on the eastern section of this flyway, which is now we call the Black Sea Mediterranean flyway, that we refer to in the project document as the Rift Valley Red Sea flyway. And as you can see from the map, Jordan and the countries of the region are really in the middle of that flyway. And those birds are coming through thousands of kilometers on their journey to Africa to spend winter in more warm climate, and then go back after that to their Euro and Eurasian areas and stay there. And throughout this journey, there are a basket actually of challenges that face those birds, and that is why the project is trying to focus on some of the countries, some of those sectors, and try to mitigate those risks to the birds along that journey. Some of the sectors where we have seen that those are most threatening to the birds, and indeed in some of the cases can be an opportunity. Those are the 5 sectors that the project is aiming at. We are aiming at hunting. We are basically focusing on the illegal side of hunting. We are aiming at energy, agriculture, waste management, and tourism. And for us, we see that in the tourism and indeed sometimes in the waste management sectors, there are opportunities also to reap some positive results through that sector, despite that for the tourism in particular, perhaps there has been not a very helping climate in the last years due to the many of the circumstances that we go for. So basically, we are covering those 5 sectors, and that shows the extensive area that the project is trying to reach out to, working into 5 totally different separated sectors. Each of them has its own internal mechanisms, the way it goes through, and dynamics indeed. And the birds that we are focusing at are the migratory soaring birds, and those are a specific set of birds. Primarily, almost 90% of them are raptors, but they have also some other birds like ibises, pelicans, ibises and pelicans, and cranes. But primarily, we are focusing on the raptors, and that is important in a way because those are emblem species for the region. If you look at it from the history, the tombs of the pharaohs, and they were taken as gods, and many of the birds are seen as, even today, highly important, especially for raptors. I think it is the official, in a way, it's official logo, if you like, of many of the countries in Palestine, Syria, Jordan in some of the institutions, Iraq, Egypt. So most of the countries of the region take the raptors as their symbols. And that is good from the perspective of, from our side, undusting this value aspect of the birds and try to rebuild the connection and rebuild the contact of the sectors to the birds, despite the fact that, again, from another perspective, the last 70 years in the region and the rapid, in many times unrational or unsustainable development that took place have disconnected people from their roots, from their values, from their connections, including the birds. So suddenly, unfortunately, we lost that contact, we lost that. So we are trying to restore that, showing, of course, from an environmental perspective, the environmental value of those birds. Those are on the top of the food chain. Those are very important environmental indicators of the ecosystems. So their health indicates the health of the whole ecosystem, and their decline shows the decline and decay of ecosystems in the region. So for us, they are very viable indicators not only in themselves, but at the environmental scale at large. So basically, we are, since the very beginning, we have been focusing on 37 species. And yeah, indeed, today we can claim more soaring birds are passing over the area, so we can perhaps add a couple of species to those, but from a perspective of a project blocking perspective, those are the 37 species that we are aiming at the project. Many of them are critically endangered, like the bald ibis. Some of them are globally or critically endangered, like the Egyptian vulture and others. And in the countries, we have been in tranche 2 of the project that started on the beginning of 2018. We have been trying to use the method that we used in tranche 1, asking for vehicles. And those are projects, initiatives, plans that are taking place in a country, in one of the targeted sector that we are working with. And we try to take the ride with this vehicle and try to join efforts so that this vehicle in this economic sector delivers its objectives, but at the same time, this economic sector delivers. We try to twin our efforts so that we can also insert or include, and that together we can reach our target. So the situation is that we are initiating vehicles in different countries in different sectors. For example, Jordan is actually the only country that we are trying to work at the 5 sectors altogether. So we are trying to lead initiatives with those sectors. In other countries, we have less number of interventions based on the opportunities that are there, and we take those opportunities as they come. So we are operating, for example, in Jordan in 5 sectors, in Egypt under 4 sectors. We're only missing the agriculture sector in Egypt. We are taking 3 sectors in Lebanon, and those 3 countries have been seen as the most of the successful countries that we have been working at till the moment. But we are also taking a 1 sector vehicle today in Djibouti, in the energy sector, in Sudan, in the agriculture sector, and in Ethiopia, in the energy sector. But those are very promising, and we are collaborating with high-profile partners in those countries through many ways. Those are the sectors. So hunting is clearly a direct threat to the bird, because in many of those countries there is a lot of indiscriminate shooting at the birds, at those birds and other birds that we are aiming to control. In tourism, there has been, especially for example, if thinking about big areas on the Red Sea coast, there has been a transformation of land for the tourism purposes that have changed many important habitats for the birds into new usages, especially for the tourism sector. But the tourism sector also through the bird watching can be seen as a very opportunity sector, though the last years did not help. In the energy sector, there is the issue of collision of birds with wind farms, and there's the issue of collision of and electrocution of birds with the power lines, and those are really big issues. The more we look into it, the more we see the dangers and the more we are engaged in that sector. Waste management sites are magnetic, attractive sites to the birds. You can't miss the birds when visiting waste management site, but at the same time there are hazardous areas, and especially in the old systems of some of those sites, they are not friendly in the birds, in the sense that while they offer plenty of food, plenty of water to the birds, and in the flyway like others, water scarcity and food scarcity is an issue, yet there might be dangerous, toxic, and many of the material that can affect the bird negatively in the area. And then in the agriculture sector, there are many issues, the toxic impacts of the pesticides, that are not aimed at the birds directly, but can have lethal and non-lethal impacts on the birds as a side effect. There is the vet drugs and there are poisoning that is taking place, and those are the areas that we are trying to mitigate. Let me look more on the sectors and the way we have approached it, and thinking ahead together on that. So basically, we have led in being friendly to birds, and I think that is a very huge success of the project. We have ensured that all the wind farm developments that are now or the built in the last 10 years in the region are bird friendly. They have shutdown on-demand systems. They have monitoring systems. We have went a long way into that, from the government to developers to international financial institutions that are giving the money for those projects. And I can claim that we have had great successes in that work. That took place in small-scale projects from 1 to 40 farms. And that is, for example, the scale that is there in countries like Jordan, for example. But we have done that also in high-scale areas, and Egypt, I think, is the leading country in the region of that, with biggest areas of wind farms that are being established that can be now amounting for more than 1,100 megawatt, which is a huge kind of a production that Egypt is aiming at. And I think we have the project have put itself in the right position in Egypt, leading on that. And another aspect of that is the power lines that we have more and more now looking at it from a very important perspective. We have studied power lines. We have shown the impact of the power lines, and the power lines are rather a kind of a silent killer, unfortunately, in the region. And we have started plans to mitigate power lines through installations, through different mitigation measures. And soon, and we have combined also efforts, so soon there will be, we're hoping to, and this is the picture in the middle, we're hoping to mitigate the power line in El Keder, and two power lines in Jordan will be installed with installation and equipment that will come hopefully within the next year. We are doing the same also hopefully in Egypt, insulating and taking action against power lines. And that sector, we have had many important initiatives. One of it of establishing a center of excellence, a center for capacity training for collision and electrocution in the region that is in Egypt. We are still also hoping that we will have a similar national one in Jordan. And another important initiative that I can refer here is that this is a sector where this project has been a generator of new green jobs. And this is a side impact that we never really thought of at the beginning of the project, but because of the number of people engaged in the monitoring, because of developing capacities of the new generation of monitors, people that are doing the monitoring at the site, we have created a new set of green jobs that are related towards it. And I think this is also an important aspect of the project. In agriculture, there are many aspects that we are trying to get to, though this is, the agriculture sector is a vast sector, it's a huge sector, and mainstreaming at it seems to be quite difficult for many reasons. Yet we are trying to do our part in that. So the usage of pesticides, we are talking, and we have reached in a way agreements that we need to make sure that the time of spraying, for example, of pesticides should not overlap with the migration time. And if it does, it can be organized at a spatial planning kind of a plan, so that we can make the best separation possible, so that we don't have those impacts. Unfortunately, there is a huge amount of pesticides that are used along the flyway, many of it in an irrational way. In many of the countries, this is not controlled, this is not being handled correctly, also for the safety also of the people in the agriculture sector, not being handled properly, and that is an issue. There are campaigns that are taking against certain birds as pests, like the quella in, for example, Ethiopia and in Africa. But at the same time, that campaign can affect other birds, target them indirectly, and we are trying to control that. And there's the poisoning aspect. Many of the in many of the region, to shepherds to protect their sheep, from hyenas, from wolves, from similar animals, they poison meat and put it out there for targeting those enemies. But unfortunately, our scavenger innocent birds come along, they eat from those poisoned meat, and they die unintentionally, but that is an impact that is taking place. So there's a lot of work with many stakeholders in many areas on that, and we have tackled that in a way in Lebanon. We have tackled that in Jordan. There has been an MOU between our partner in Jordan, the RSCN, and the Syndicate of Agricultural Engineers, and where we are trying to coordinate the steps to move ahead into that. In the waste management, we are having two issues. There are issues at landfills, and there are issues at sewage ponds. And the sewage ponds, we have been leading the work in Egypt because we have had many cases of contamination of birds, drinking of water that was not really meant to be attracted. The bird, of course, will be attracted to it, but the quality of the water in some of the cases made lethal impacts to the birds, and we had to intervene with the authorities, South Sinai Water Company, and we have managed and we are still managing the water quality to ensure that birds can come and drink of it. And indeed, in the case of, for example, of the Sharm el-Sheikh sewage ponds, we have turned the site into a tourism site, and we have built some tourism infrastructure, bird watching towers and things, and we have invited tourists when coming to Sharm to have an excursion to the sewage pond and look at the birds. So we tried also to turn that into an opportunity. In the last COP that took place in Sharm el-Sheikh, we had in 2002 we had an excursion of the roosters, and we took them to the sewage pond. So really, we are trying to also deal with it. Of course, for example, there are challenges when those waters will disappear. For example, in the Aqaba situation, the new plan will take away totally the sewage ponds that was used by the birds. So there is now an agreement that we will keep one artificial pond for the birds, even when they move into the new technology, so that the birds that are accustomed to come on a yearly basis and use the site will continue to do so in decent numbers. We have been also talking with the other landfills to ensure that there are mitigation measures taking place, and we have produced guidelines and best practices for how landfills and how waste management sites can be friendly to the birds, and we look forward to applying those into different areas. We are working with environmental companies, consultancy houses, when they take the initiatives of either doing studies for all existing waste management sites for their upgrade, or when they're doing studies for new waste management sites. We're trying to connect with them at an early stage so that we can embed some of the recommendations and some of the bird-friendly practices since the early start of this process, so that waste management sites can be, since it is born, rather friendly to birds. The hunting sector is also a very important sector where we have been doing a lot on that. And the issue of it is that hunting is a deeply rooted cultural practice within the people of the region. And changing that is not an easy thing, but the fact that the practice has changed in a great sense. It turned from our grandfathers sustainable, though they never called it the way it is, but it has been always a sustainable hunting practices at the time of our grandfathers. But in the last 100 years, this turned into a very indiscriminate, really killing of anything that flies within a new culture that is embedded, perhaps a bit of the violence of the region or whatever. So there has been that extensive, unjustifiable killing of all that flies in the region, and we needed to put an end to that, and we needed to stop that in many ways. So make sure that that this is illegal, so law should be respected in all the countries, and in some countries we advanced laws, like for example in Lebanon, we made sure that there's a law in place, and in many cases, which is the more difficult aspect, is that the enforcement of the law. Because at the end of the day, when we reach the celebration of having a law signed, this is great, but then you need to have this enforced properly, and this is an issue. And there are aspects of hunting that is in our culture that need to be looked at a very careful aspect, like falconry, for example, which is also in a kind of a difficult area to tackle, where we have this as part of our cultural heritage. It is registered actually in the UNESCO as part of the cultural heritage, intangible cultural heritage of the region in many countries, including many countries on our flyway. But at the same time, there is an aspect, if you like, that is negative to it, if you look at it from that perspective. So again, we have issued best practices, worked with hunters, worked with hunter organizations, advanced sustainable hunting practices, promoted stories of sustainably repentant hunters, and tried to do a lot on that perspective. In tourism, that has been an important sector, but unfortunately, since the start of the project with the Arab Spring in 2011 and all what happened, ending with COVID in current times, the region didn't really breathe and didn't achieve its tourism potential because of the different political and health issues that has been going into the years, crises, economic, social, political, etc., and that impacted the ability of the tourism sector to show itself. We nevertheless supported the sector, and that is another sector where we looked at new green jobs through training and establishing the capacity of bird watchers to lead tourists in those areas, and that section is important. With the last UNDP project that was at mainstreaming tourism in Jordan, we have worked a lot, so we inserted biodiversity in the curriculum of all the new guiding licensing systems in Jordan. We have inserted bird watching aspects into that, and we ourselves also delivered that training to new guides. So we have new set of guides who are important on that, and we have did the same also of that in Jordan and in Egypt, and we have gave those licenses, and we licensed those guides. But still, we were not really assisted by the situation. Looking quickly at the mainstreaming processes, mainstreaming in general is a complicated process. It's a compound process. It needs many efforts. We are working at international level, regional level, national level. We are working at international MEAs, but also with the conferences and the congresses of each sector so that we can mainstream to them. So this is a huge undertaking that needs flexibility, needs ability to speak to the sectors. And through that, we have been having this partnership with our partners in the region, BirdLife partners that are delivering the job, but also partnership beyond, like we carried a flyway summit in Abu Dhabi in 2018. We carried a regional flyway work in 2019, and that was affected, unfortunately, by the COVID. It needs strong communication in all channels, from the social media to the films to the journalism, into using all the different aspects and ways to really spread the message within the sectors and move ahead. With COVID, we moved into online webinars. So last year we had 6 regional webinars. One of them was with the assistance of UNDP on gender, and we have now a new film on gender on NSP. Yes, and we will have I mean, I don't know if the time will be back, but we will have a gender webinar this year, and we will show the film of our gender efforts. So that is new also for the project. But we have also gender in 2020 had 5 each per sector events, very important on waste management, on agriculture, energy, agriculture, and sustainable hunting. There are important tools that we developed. So one of the most important is the Soaring Bird Sensitivity Map, which is an online tool that helps us and helps the decision maker decide on the sensitivity of a site to the birds before taking the development decision, especially for the energy sector. This tool is now becoming an international tool. It is expanded. It started from the project, expanded at the Mediterranean. Now we are expanding in Asia with the Asian Development Bank, and this will definitely be one of the important heritage or legacy tools of the project. We have all the guidance that we have. We have guidance of all the sectors at the start. So we have best practices for the 5 sectors, but we have now additional detailed guidance on subsectors within the sectors, and this ongoing process of issuing those guidance. We have
can you go back to the previous slide? هذا يا هذا الابيض اللي بتشوفيه اللي على اليسار.
اوكي.
اللي بتشوفيه اللي حكوا لك عنه.
ايش اسمه هذا؟
وايت ستوك.
لقلق الابيض.
ايش اسمه؟
لقلق الابيض. ابو سعد بالعامة. The process also includes a very complicated dialogue with all the sectors, because within those sectors there are people that have their own interests, and their interest is never at birds, but we talk to them and we bring this bird agenda to the talk so that we can highlight the profile and look for common areas and drive together into proceeding ahead with the army, with officials, with companies, with police, with whatever. So this is you are working with different people in different areas, and you're mainstreaming your message to them in the different ways. And it goes all to the up the way. So we're talking to the presidents, to the ministers, and we're going that level high in the discussion, and we can go that local in the discussion. So it is a global to local, local to global agenda that we are delivering our mainstreaming, and this is also one of the important aspects of going ahead with that work. And of course, we are talking to our MEAs, especially to the ones that are most related to it, to our work. And under our work, the Convention of Migratory Species, CMS, is the most important relevant international treaty. And under that treaty, we have many initiatives. For example, we have the Raptors MOU. And through the project years, we have managed to bring many of the countries in the region to the MOU. So with the help of the project, Ethiopia, Lebanon, Jordan, Syria, Egypt, they all came to be members of this international MOU. And now the challenge is going ahead also in delivering the impact. As I said, delivering is always the most important and critical aspect. And we have also, BirdLife is doing now, through the project and with the support of the project, 2 major jobs. We are coordinating 2 main tools under the CMS. One of them is the CMS Energy Task Force, which is a major task force at the global level now that is looking into the energy and birds and migratory species in general, but also birds in the center. And under now the Energy Task Force, we're having working groups. So we have power line working group, technical working group, and the project is also engaged with those technical working groups and working groups as they go. And we have the MICT, which is an intergovernmental task force under the CMS, especially for hunting and taking of birds. And with those, we are doing a lot of joint work. So this is a long-term process. It is way beyond the project. It needs really continuity so that we can move ahead the way it should. And it requires leadership, and I'm happy to say that till now we got 3 awards in the project. We got award for our energy work in Sudan. We got an award, that was the first one in end of tranche 1, and then in the last year we got 2 awards, one award on the project work in Egypt and 1 award of the project work in Jordan. So now we have 3 international awards, and we're looking for more awards. And probably one of the aspects that we will ask your help or UNDP help is to apply for more awards. Those awards are important, but they are non-cash awards. So now we are looking for cash awards that can look and support our work in the project. The challenges of the project is a long story. You can think of anything and have it as a challenge in the region. There are, I mean, in many cases, we were told that birds are not a priority for us. We were in many cases told also that this is, and for example, I recall in Ethiopia, we are calling that energy is an untouchable sector because it's a matter of national security. You cannot even talk energy in Ethiopia. So it took a long effort really to work with those people so that you can really put your agenda on the table. There have been all the kinds of revolutions, political climate, civil unrest. So even currently we're having the Tigray war in Ethiopia, the revolution in Lebanon, the sanctions in Sudan, the revolution in Sudan. So even we abandoned Syria, Palestine, and Yemen, but we had also new problems with the other countries, unfortunately, in phase 2. So this followed us, or we followed, or we brought them the bad luck. I'm not sure, but still, we are, despite of that there have been armed conflicts, humanitarian crises. There are people that keep the high turnover of people at the decision-making levels. A minister you start to do a relationship with, but he flies away in no time, or a general director of electricity company, then he's changed. Then you start from zero with a new man in office, or he or she, and you'd like to put that agenda. And we have very important lessons learned, I think, from an NGO perspective. Our unique modality of NGO and next execution is important. We are working with Ministry of Environment in Egypt, but with the BirdLife partner. We are playing the game correctly so that we can put in the front seat whoever is best to achieve the result, and the other party will be ready to be in the back seat so that this goes on the right way. And the priorities of the countries, of course, these are many important issues. Quickly, coming events, probably some of you already have seen that we have a photo contest of migratory soaring birds that ended in the 15th of May, and we will show the results hopefully soon. Tomorrow we are having a regional event on hunting for those who would like to subscribe to. The day after tomorrow we are having a regional event on power lines, also for those who would like to subscribe to. Those are really focused towards a certain set of sectors, but that is some of the events. At the broader level, looking ahead, and I think this session is the start on today's this morning, before this session even, we have started to mainstream our ideas for the way forward. This project have ended an MTR a couple of months ago. We have some 17 recommendations that we are following, and we are now looking ahead for what would follow as a next phase. We will discuss that with the board, we will discuss that with UNDP, with the partners, and we will put our exit strategy perhaps by the end of the year, and hopefully by next year we will start our preparation for a new phase so that the legacy of this project will continue. We might not end up by a project that can be a big umbrella for so many sectors. We can have smaller projects in different sectors, but that is something for us to consider with the partners. So this is our contact details, and thank you very much.